The ultimate tournament of everything.
Welcome to the Tournament of Everything, a show where we compare everything to everything else to figure out which thing is the best thing of all the things that ever was and ever will be.
That's right, and we do so by discussing sweet nothings on a romantic horseback ride on the beach, and at the very last moment of sunlight, a glint off of something in the sand. We get off our horses, and what is it? It is the champion of the round moving on to the next round of the Ultimate Tournament of Everything.
Spoiler alert, it's a bottle cap. Actually,
Bottle cap win too.
yeah, it might be a contender eventually. What we'll be doing today, however, is picking random articles off Wikipedia with a random Wikipedia link generator, comparing them 2 by 2 to figure out which of them is the best and moving them on to the second round. When will the second round be? We're not sure, because we're going to go through all the things that ever were and ever might be. Could be a while.
I'd still like to go to the beach.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. We'll get into our first round, probably not the beach, but you might get lucky.
Round one.
In round one, we have Casper, A Spirited Beginning, the movie, against Lestver Parish, which is in Estonia.
Yes, two fantastic competitors that we were all looking forward to see. We were also excited when we found out just now that they'd be matched up against one another. Let's get right down to the competition.
Casper, A Spirited Beginning is a 1997 American fantasy comedy film based on the Harvey Comics cartoon character Casper the Friendly Ghost. It actually serves as a prequel. Breaks continuity with the 1995 film Casper. See, that's good, because I wasn't sure for that moment which one of them was the one I've seen as a child, and I don't think it's this one.
Yes, this is the less good one, I'm sure. So, in Ghost Train in this film, spirits are headed towards Ghost Central, but Casper's unaware of where he is. He's also unaware that he's a ghost himself. Obviously, adventure ensues, and they end up in Ghost Central, which is run by the evil ghoul Kibosh. They're trained the proper ghost lifestyle, how to haunt and scare people, but I think ultimately, and I don't want to jump ahead of the reading here, but I'm going to guess that this Casper was a little too friendly for that.
So the film was met with widespread criticism from critics, and the VHS tape included a music video for 911's Love Sensation.
Love Sensation, one of the classic jams from 911.
Yeah, it was so good they omitted it from subsequent DVD releases.
Now, there are some big names in this. Steve Guttenberg played Tim Carson. You got Lori Loughlin, Rodney Dangerfield, Stephen Hartman. I'm not sure if that's the same as Steve Hartman. Ben Stein. And somebody named Casper Van Dien, who did not play Casper. He played Bystander.
James Earl Jones is even in this movie as a voice.
Yeah. If you're going to pick a voice, it should probably be James Earl Jones.
Now, I wonder how this is going to compare up against its competitor, Lestver Parish, a rural municipality of Estonia.
In Viljandi County. Now, it existed until 1950. I don't see why its existence ceased at that point, but the article does continue.
Yeah, the parish was reestablished in 1991 and then liquidated in 2005. That is about all we know. So potentially we have a ghost parish against a ghost movie.
Ooh, creepy. This is going to be the spookiest episode yet. This is a tough one. Oh, look, they've even got a full soundtrack for Casper, not just that one song. Casey and the Sunshine Band. Oh my goodness. Oingo Boingo.
The movie was so good. Pauly Shore.
Pauly Shore. He played Snibble.
Okay. The movie was so good, it has an incredible rating of 2.2 out of a scale of 10.
You know, I think that 2.2 is going to narrowly sneak by whatever score Olstver Parish would have attained, in my opinion. And so that's why I'm choosing it to move on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
What do you think, Rob?
Well, I think say what you will about the terrible movie that is Casper, the Ghost of New Beginnings. Oh, sorry, A Spirited Beginnings. But it at least still exists. So I think by default, it's got to move on.
Okay, Casper, A Spirited Beginning. I don't think either of us have ever seen you, but we will see you in the very next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
What a terrible movie.
I have to see it now.
Prepare to be disappointed.
The slogan was "Buy the video before it disappears."
How true that was.
You know what's not hard to find, Rob?
Round 2.
It's time for round 2.
In round 2, we have Wraxall Manor against Pequop, Nevada.
Okay, two exceptionally spelled competitors. Let's see which one's letter arrangement will proceed them into the next round.
Wraxall Manor, not to be confused with Wroxall Manor,
Mm.
is a Grade 2 listed manor house in Wraxall, Dorset, England. The house was built in about 1630, probably by William Lawrence, and that is where the article ends.
Yes, it looks like a movie, like if someone in a Hallmark movie had gone on a vacation to England and found an empty old house that they fell in love in, this is probably it.
Yeah, there are probably some ghosts in that, and you know where there are definitely ghosts?
In the small town of Pequop, Nevada, also known as Pequop Siding, it's a ghost town. We're sticking with the randomly generated spooky categories in Elko County, Nevada, in these United States.
It was first a stop station for the Central Pacific Railroad, and later a non-agency station on the Southern Pacific Railroad. And several buildings were even erected to house crews from the railway.
Now, it doesn't say, I guess it was that railway and the train that it ran, but in November 1870, Pequop Siding was the site of the second robbery of that train. The first train was robbed near Verdi, Nevada, which is not in this round of the competition presently.
Yeah, that's an interesting way. Second site robbery of the same train. They don't list the first one at all in this article, so I guess there were two. The robbers turned out to be deserters from Camp Halleck. One of the robbers was Edward Carr, who 3 weeks before the robbery had murdered Sally Whitmore, the madam of a brothel near Camp Halleck.
One of his gloves was found at the site of the robbery, and I guess it fit quite well. They were able to convict him.
There we go. Now, the end of the village, what led it to ghost town status, was that in the 1940s, the introduction of the diesel locomotive made Pequop obsolete. So video killed the radio star, and diesel killed Pequop.
And who knows who's been killed inside of Wraxall Manor. So the question is, Rob, who are you going to choose to move on to the next round?
I'm going to stick with the theme. One of these things is still around, and it's Wraxall Manor. So I think they get the second shot.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
What do you think?
Wraxall Manor, you're Wraxall right. And you're Wraxall moving to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
I'd live there. Wraxall Manor, not Pequop.
Yeah, I would much rather live there than Pequot. That is unequivocal. You know what else is unequivocal, Rob?
Is it round 3?
It's time for round 3.
In round 3, we have security screenings, not at the airport. It is an EP by Profuse73 against Robin Stevens, a South African rugby union player.
Okay, we have another rugby player. We've had a number of those. They fared pretty well versus another musical entity, which has also done pretty well. We've got two people coming in with a strong advantage. Let's see which these titans in this clash will come out on top.
Security Screenings was released on Warp Records in 2006, and although it's actually as long as a proper LP, it's described as being an EP by the artist. It is not considered to be a follow-up to the 2005 album Surrounded by Silence, which is a lie because it's a track full of music.
Now, the original cover art displayed the artist's name as Profuse, LXII, which means Profuse 63, and this was corrected in later printings. Of course, again, as a reminder, we're talking about Profuse 73.
Can you imagine being the guy who had to tell everybody, okay, guys, I don't understand Roman numerals, okay? I don't get them. They don't make any sense.
I don't think that it's really, okay, so let's dig a little deeper into this and let's get a little bit more into the mind of who this person is. The very first track was 1 minute and 17 seconds long, entitled The Letter P.
Sounds like
Two
something
tracks.
you would have written.
Yes, I may be a co-writer on this. I'm not sure. But we've also got Illiterate Interlude, Weight Watching. Always, it's going to be like that. And Creating Cynical Headaches, which I believe sounds like a hit. That one's featuring Fortet.
Yeah, there are a lot of songs here. 18 tracks. I definitely wouldn't call this an EP. This is, you just have an album, buddy. You have an album. You have 18 tracks.
Yeah. Yep. It does sound cooler, though, if you call it an EP. Speaking of cool, let's discuss the king of cool, Robin Stevens.
So it's not his nickname, but it really could be. He was born February 28th, 1996, South African rugby union player for the Southern Kings in the Pro 14, and his regular position is hooker. For our American listeners, that's a rugby position. You're just going to have to look that one. Okay, don't look that one up. We'll try to see if we can describe it for you.
No, we're not going to do that either, but we will tell you more about Robin Stevens. He made his Pro 14 debut while for the Southern Kings in their match against the Connect in March of 2020, coming on as a replacement hooker.
Okay, so a hooker is a forward. It's a forward. Okay, so we're just going to use the word forward now because most of our listeners are in America, and this will make more sense for you. So he is
We're
a
only talking
forward.
about rugby, exclusively rugby.
Yes.
Speaking of rugby, following the liquidation of the Southern Kings, Stevens signed for the Eastern Province Elephants ahead of the exciting 2021 season.
He stands 5'9", weighs 218 pounds, and he has scored 0 points in his career.
Ooh.
I was gonna move him on, but if he's got no points,
I mean, now I don't know too much about rugby, but I would think that your hooker would be the one you'd want scoring points, right?
yes, the forward.
That's the equivalent. A forward hooker, you would think they'd be scoring points. They're not. And security screenings, scoring all sorts of points. Look at that awesome album cover. I think, without a doubt, security screenings, you pass my test to move on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
What do you say, Rob?
I have to agree with you. I think if you're gonna be playing a sport and you can't contribute with any points to the team, why do we even keep you around?
Security screenings. You're going to get us out of this sticky situation and move on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Let's get into round 4.
Let's get into it.
Round 4.
In round 4, we have a list of Spanish films of the 2010s against Red Roberts, an American football player.
Okay. Two classics of their own genres. One of the American football sport and the other of the Spanish film sort. Let's see which one shall prevail.
So these are films produced in Spain in the 2010s, ordered by year of release on 10 separate pages. Ooh, so here's a question then. If we're talking about the list of films, can we go to those separate pages? Because technically we're comparing one Wikipedia page against another. So by leaving this page, we might be comparing something else against Red Roberts instead of this list of films.
Well, we're not comparing the films, nor are we comparing the films contained within the list. This article says list of Spanish films of the 2010s. And so I think, especially considering underneath it, is a list. Let's look at this list. Let's dive right into it. It begins with the Spanish films of 2010. And then it proceeds to include Spanish films of 2011, followed, of course, by the classic Spanish films of 2012. Rob, would you like to take it from here?
Oh, absolutely. Don't forget the heavy hitter that was Spanish films of 2013. And then they really threw you a curveball in there with, guess what? Spanish films of 2014. You guessed it.
Yep. This pattern would continue all the way to 2019. Like, this is just the list we're looking at.
It's just films, and then it gives a year.
It's down and dirty. I think it's also beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, let's talk about that beautiful sport that is football and the classic player who is Red Roberts.
James Madison Red Roberts, born August 23rd, 1900, passed away June 27th, 1945, was an American football player and coach. He played football for the Center Praying Colonels in Danville, Kentucky.
Yeah, a long, successful career. After college, he played in the early National Football League for the Toledo Maroons and the Akron Pros. He also played in the first American Football League for the Cleveland Panthers.
You know, that's nice that Ohio once had a professional football team.
Heyo.
Sorry, Ohio.
Now, he played center in 1918, was the most prominent Kentucky native on the 9-0 1919 team and the 1921 team of Center College in Danville, which upset Harvard.
Oh, yeah, Harvard was once good at football. That's right. Not anymore, but they once were.
Here's a good story. Roberts once saved Roscoe Brumfield, the Center College mascot, after someone pushed him into the lake and he could not swim and went down the second time.
Okay. Well, that's a nice thing to do then. He died at 1 p.m. on June 27th from burns suffered when a fire broke out on the third floor of the Cumberland Hotel in Kentucky, where he was the manager. Yeah, his wife had fallen asleep in the bedroom. No, a different lady, Mrs. Annie Teepa Roberts, a native of Austria, whom he married. Okay, so maybe he did marry her. Okay. She'd fallen asleep in the bedroom while Red was talking with the guest in the living room. She fell asleep. He fell asleep in the living room after the guest had left. Neither one of them were awakened until a fire flashed out in the living room. Okay. Electrical fixture, probably.
There it is. Yeah. Unfortunate. There's no defense against an offensively good, poor wiring in your house. So make sure you get that checked. Um, let's check back real quick. One more look at this beautiful list of Spanish films of the 2010s. Is there anything we're missing there, Robert?
You know what? I did miss. Here's one that we didn't talk about. Films of 2017.
And we can't forget the prequel that followed that one. Now that's a prequel to a subsequent sequel called Spanish Films of 2018.
So it is tough to beat a list that is literally just a number of years, but I think our good friend Red probably does it.
Red Roberts, you beat Harvard and you beat this list. So you're moving on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Touchdown.
Touchdown. Reading hard.
5. Round 5.
Give us round 5 one more time.
You like that one, huh?
I do.
All right. Let me find it. It's not this one labeled round 4, is it?
Nope. It's got a 5 in it. That's V in Roman numerals.
Round 5. Round 5.
In round 5, we have Jalapa, the capital city of the Mexican state of Veracruz, against Incintaman cataganae, which is a species of proterin found in South Africa.
Yes. Wonderful words to pronounce here. Xalapa, Xalapa, of course, also known, though, as Jalapa, spelled with a J in place of that X. It's the capital city, as you said, of the Mexican state of Veracruz, and the name of the surrounding municipality, with an area of 118.45 kilometers squared.
So one thing we have here, which I think I'm going to use, is very often we stumble over these translations and just make them up. There's a button here which will tell us exactly how to say this. So here we go.
Here we go.
Jalapa.
Did you hear anything?
Yeah, of course. I heard Jalapa.
There we go.
Jalapa.
Perfect. So
All right.
now we know how to say it.
Yes, crushed it. Now, the Teutonics first established themselves around Macoitepetl, fifth mountain in Nahuatl. This extinct volcano received its name because the Aztecs used it as the fifth reference mountain to get to the Gulf of Mexico's shores. Today, it's preserved in a park.
I'm so glad I don't have to count mountains when I travel. I would get lost so quickly.
I think, if you got to go over them, it's easy to count them one at a time.
I suppose. I guess that is true. So Jalapa is known as the Athens of Veracruz because of a strong cultural influence of its major university, Universidad Veracruzana, the main public university in the state of Veracruz.
Yeah, this article is wonderfully constructed. B, full of a ton of fantastic information. Obviously, this town of Jalapa has it going on. But you know what else I think we should go on to? Is its competitor. I'll take a turn. Eocentoman Katinge, which, of course, is in the family of Eocentomidae.
Yeah, I have no clue what that is, but I gotta say, this hexapod. Now I gotta figure out what a hexapod is. What is a hexapod?
This is a wormhole that might lead us to find things that are, in fact, worm-like. I don't know what a hexapod is either, but I do know that Jalapa is a beautiful place, and I'd like to go and visit just from the look of this article. And so I'm going to put it down to move it on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
What do you say, Rob?
Well, a hexapod comprises most species of arthropods and includes insects as well. So there we go. That's what a hexapod is. But that's not nearly as exciting as jalapa. And I think jalapa definitely beats most bugs.
Oh yeah, it beats them bad, especially the little worm in the bottom of a tequila bottle. So harapa. You're moving on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
nice.
It's a wonderful place.
Yeah, it's got great architecture. It just really looks like a fantastic vacation spot.
Next round.
You will find C round six. Round six.
In round 6, we have La Apocalypse de Anima, a soundtrack by Greek composer Vangelis, against Father Collins Park, a park located in Dublin, Ireland.
So we've got a landscape versus a soundscape. Uh, let's see which one is going to take themselves away into the next round of the Ultimate Tournament.
La Apocalypse de Anima is a soundtrack album by Greek composer Vangelis. The album's music accompanied a documentary series about the animal kingdom that was first broadcast on French TV in 1970. I love those nature shows just so much.
Oh yeah, old school. Oh, you remember in the old days in school when maybe it was raining or something weird was going on, and they'd show you some old movies on a projector.
Yeah, so
Are we old?
depending on how old you are, there was either a projector or they wheeled a TV into your room or somebody busted out a VCR. I guess kids nowadays, the teacher's like, I don't know, look it up on your phone. I don't know. We're old.
Speaking of busting out, this was one of Vangelis' earliest works, recorded whilst still a member of the progressive rock band, another progressive rock band named Aphrodite's Child.
That sounds fun. But, unfortunately, not a competitor in this round. Huh.
Personnel, we've got a keyboard player, we've got a sound engineer, and a photographer. So, it seems like he pretty much did all of this music more or less by himself.
Yeah. The album was 35 minutes long. It's French. You know it's not French?
The park in Dublin, called Father Collins Park. It's near the boundary of Dublin City and Fingal. Its official address is Donaghmead, and it's located near the new development at Clongriffin.
The park is situated on part of an historic site that is significant from the medieval era, or more specifically, the Norman period. The park comprises part of the original and extensive Grange of Baldoyle farmland supporting the Priory of All Saints, on the site of which Trinity College Dublin now stands.
Now, the park was originally opened in memory of a former parish priest, Father Joe Collins, the namesake of the park, who worked to ensure public access to the lands. Having been farmland since at least early medieval times, the park initially comprised natural woodlands, ancient hedgerow, open spaces, and playing fields for sports.
Father Collins Park is approximately 3 kilometers from Baldoyle Bay, which is filled with estuaries and wetlands, and is a protected National Park and Wildlife Service area.
Sounds like a lovely place. Looking at the picture here, it's nice. It kind of looks like a big, grassy area with, I guess that's the estuary. It's got like a little river running through it, if you will. It's pretty. It's well tended.
The park has won a number of awards, such as the Sustainability Award of 2010, Best Public Space of 2010, Best Public Park, and Best Environmentally Friendly Initiative for 2010. And most recently, shortlisted by the European Union Prize for Contemporary Architecture in 2011.
Oh. So this is a real humdinger, I would say.
I think it's got enough accolades. I want to give it just one more.
You want to move it on?
Absolutely.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I'm going to need to find one more reason why this soundtrack to a music documentary or a nature documentary isn't as good. The documentary contains much more music than is available in the album, and so it's incomplete. That'll do it for me. Hey, yo, Father Collins Park. I was pulling for you, and we're going to pull you into the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Cool. It's so green.
Very green. It's nice. It's always nice when parks are green and not, like not green.
Yeah. You know what I say? It's better for a park to be green than not green. Round seven.
In round 7, we have Neodactyria collagenocellus against Mollis. Now, Mike, we're going to play a game where you tell me exactly what Mollis is. And normally I give you options, but I think this one, I think everyone knows what Mollis is, so I think you should just explain it for all of us before we read the actual definition.
Well, of course, as with everybody, I do clearly know what you said. Mollis.
Yes,
is,
Mollis.
Would you do me the courtesy of spelling it?
Mullis, just like it sounds.
Well, then, of course, we are talking about the small organ inside the abdomen of the Australian anteater. Now, this organ serves to secrete such essential things to the body as can be extruded from this organ, and that is what Mollis is.
Mollis is a surname found in the European nations of England, Switzerland, and Russia.
I was close.
Very, very close. Why don't we start with Mollis? Notable people with the name include Alastair Mullis, a British professor of law, Betty L. Mullis, a United States Air Force pilot, Jeff Mullis, an American politician from Georgia, Carrie Mullis, an American Nobel Prize-winning biochemist, Stan Mullis, a professional stock car racing driver, and Robert Mullis, a professional football player.
Okay, we got some real, people living exciting lives. Air Force pilot, stock car racer, British law professor. Can't beat it.
Really, really impressive people, but maybe not as impressive as Neodactyria collagenocellus, the corn root webworm.
Also known as black grass veneer, it's another moth in the family Cambridae, described by James Brackenridge Clemens in 1860.
It is always a moth. How is there's always either a moth or a rugby player, and I don't understand how that's possible.
I can explain it, Rob. You see, this show here is the source of illumination, of enlightenment. And whenever you have such a bright light shining, you're going to get a couple moths attracted to it. Now, this moth has a wingspan of about 17 millimeters. The forewings are dark brown to blackish with post, median, and subterminal lines.
The hind wings, don't forget those. They're just as important because otherwise I don't think it's a moth. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dark grayish brown, my favorite color. There's one generation per year with adults on wing in June and July in the northern part of the range. And down in Florida, where bugs never die, they fly all the way from February to November.
And then, life starts again. The larvae feed on turf grasses and corn stalks. and they have a pale white to gray body.
So just so I can paraphrase for the people playing along at home, we have a surname with a bunch of really impressive individuals against a kind of nondescript moth that eats corn. What a barn burner.
Yep. Hey, why don't you choose first?
You know what? I don't think we can pick a winner. I think we need to let the universe decide.
Time for a tiebreaker.
So as always, the way we settle tiebreakers here is I'm going to put one of these moths in a jar and poke a bunch of little holes in the top, and we'll figure out whether it lives or dies through the night. If it survives, it's our winner.
That's right. But Rob, I kind of let my moth go. I felt bad.
That's probably good. PETA would be really upset. I'd even feel bad about it. I have trouble killing moths. I like them.
Well, I was gonna put it. Just have normal bread, not like PETA. But yeah. So why don't we just pick a number between 1 and 1,000?
No. Let's go with your first guess. Let's pick a letter between 1 and 1,000. Which letter would you like?
I would like C.
The letter C, which in Roman numerals I believe is 100.
And I think for that, I should be relegated to represent the moth.
Okay. I will go with, let's see. Is there anything in the mollusk thing here that's got a number? 2007. So I'm going to go with 7. Just the number 7.
All right. Let's ring-a-ding-ding that bell and find out who's moving on.
Our random number for a random number selector is 230.
Okay. Shouldn't be surprised. We've got another moth on the rise. Neodactylea caliginocelis. You're moving on to the next round of
the ultimate tournament of everything.
You know how they're worried that like the ocean's going to be all jellyfish if we don't figure out like overfishing and things? The world's just going to be all moths by the time we're done with this show because they've beaten everything they've gone up against.
This is why we need spiders and cats. And you know what else we need in this world of ours, Rob?
Is it more round 8 music?
I see. Would you by chance have any round 8? Round 8!
In round 8, we have Hate Inc., Why Today's Media Makes Us Despise One Another, against Cap, crown, a cap which fills the inner space of a modern crown.
And just to be clear, I'm looking at this, and this appears to be, we're talking about a hat. We're not talking about the dental accoutrement. We seem to be talking about headgear, and we're talking about any headway that Hate Inc. may have made. So let's see which one's going to be victorious.
Now, Hate Inc. is a 2009 nonfiction book by Matt Taibbi. It was first self-published online in serial form and then later published by OR Books in 2019 in both hardcover, paperback, and ebook format.
See, the book argues, quote, that what most people think of as news is in fact a twisted wing of the entertainment business. Contains an interview with Noam Chomsky, whose 1988 book, Manufacturing Consent, heavily influenced Taibbi's writing. And in Hate Inc., Taibbi inverts the phrase to manufacturing discontent.
The critical reception is mixed. Some call it less polished than his original works, but witty and insightful, smart dissection of a grim media landscape, a brilliant indictment of American media, smart and scathing freewheeling analysis.
Even promoted the book in an appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast.
You know, when I go for my news that I want to be factual, accurate, to the point, I also don't go to Joe Rogan.
Yeah, it seems like an interesting book, a timely book. But sometimes you got to book yourself a little time with a fancy hat. And let's talk about the king of hats, which is a crown, or more specifically in this round, the cap of a crown.
So, as we all know from the crowns we wear daily, us kings and queens of America, a crown is difficult to put on because sometimes the metal bit isn't tight enough to your head, especially if you don't have one of those cheap ones made out of aluminum foil. So, the wealthy among us will make a small hat to put within that metal crown that is then form-fitted to the top of your skull.
Yeah, it's like a metal crown bumper, so that you don't end up with it over your eyes, running around your castle, if you will, knocking things over.
Yeah, it adds visual impact to the crown while showing off the golden circlet to maximum effect and keeps the monarch's head warm.
In those darn drafty medieval buildings during those darn long coronation ceremonies.
How dare they make their giant castles out of big blocks without air conditioning or heat?
You would think all of that ice on those things would keep them cool. What seemed to keep no one cool was the controversial book Hate Inc. It stirred up some feathers. It wasn't all, I mean, come on. A crown, and then you got to get a whole other hat. Uh, I feel like there's better uses of things. And I think that might be exactly what Hate Inc. is about. And that's why I'm going to stamp my vote for it to move on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
So this one's interesting because while it's hard to have a crown without a cap on it, there's some of this book that he's got some praise, but then also listed as being a little heavy-handed, claiming that the news media is basically responsible for the kind of cultural climate in America, which I don't necessarily believe as true. I don't think you can blame everything on the news. Oh.
I mean, dude's got a point. It's not, news isn't what it used to be. Let me paraphrase what he's saying. We're not getting the news like we used to. We used to get facts. Now we get opinions. We used to get the newspaper in stacks, and now we get it on our little devices. Things have changed, but what hasn't changed is that truth is truth, and we no longer know what that truth is, and perhaps a big part of that reason is because of the way that the media presents in search of ratings and whatnot, that information. But I don't know because I haven't read the book.
And I think we have to go maybe a back-to-back tiebreaker because you know what I can rely on? I can rely on that cap to keep up my crown day after day, night after night. No matter who is president, no matter what channel I'm watching, it keeps those jewels up above my ears. And for that, I think it deserves a spot in round 2.
All right, it's the people versus the crown. Let's see how it goes down.
Time for a tiebreaker.
I'm going to go with the number 75.
We're going with the number 75?
75.
Okay, let's see. Speak to me, Hate Inc. I am going to go, it has 304 pages. So I'm going to flip it upside down, and I'm going to go with the number 403.
Our number is 244. Oh, math. This is very close. oh, no.
Long pause for the people who can't do math.
That's us. Okay.
What was the number again?
244.
Well, it appears that I'm 159 away.
I'm 169 away, making you the winner by 10.
Okay, Hate Inc., we love you. And you're moving on to the next round.
The ultimate tournament of
There's definitely just somebody screaming in their car like, "But they don't know how to do math. It's just math."
Yeah, we're going to take a political tirade from you 30 seconds ago, and now you can't do math. Well, that's why you tune into this beautiful show. And you know why else you tune in?
It's about time for round 9. Round 9.
In round 9, we have two competitors that I think are not even in the same league and will be outmatched entirely by one of them. We have the 2021-22 season of the Manchester City Women's Football Club against the entirety of the Italian army.
Well, we've got two competitors that have had some wins, some losses, but in the end, they're both competitors. Let's see which one's going to come out with the W today.
Let's start with the one that is clearly outmatched and has no purpose being in this competition. The Italian army.
This is a land-based component of the Italian armed forces. The army's history dates back to the Italian unification in the 1850s and 60s, fought in colonial engagements in China, Libya, northern Italy, and against the Austro-Hungarian Empire during World War I.
Now, its best-known combat vehicles are the Dardo infantry fighting vehicle, the Centauro tank destroyer, and the Arete tank. Among its aircraft, the Mangusta attack helicopter, recently deployed on UN missions.
So, am I remembering correctly that in World War II, they were part of the Axis?
Yes, they were bad. That was Benito Mussolini.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, okay. They fought. They've lost. There's a whole bunch of them, big bunch of them, and there has been for quite some time. They have all sorts of structures and positions, brigades, battalions, infantries, and artilleries, and boy howdy, does this article go on and on.
In World War II, reports of Italian military prowess in the Second World War were almost always dismissive. This perception was the result of disastrous Italian offenses against Egypt and the performance of the army in the Greco-Italian War. Both campaigns were ill-prepared and executed inadequately, and the Italian 10th Army initially advanced into Egypt but surrendered after being pushed back into central Libya and almost entirely destroyed by a force 1/5 its size.
Now, I don't know if these towns are 1/5 of the size of one another, but I do know that Manchester City and their women's football club season of 2021 and 22 were ultimately bested in that season, even though they did pretty well. Now, this season was the 34th season of competitive football, and this team's 9th season in the FA Women's Super League, the highest level of English women's football.
They went 15-2-5 with a goal differential of plus 38. Very impressive.
Looks like on the league table, so are there only 5 teams in this league here?
Oh, I have no idea. That definitely looks like that.
They took 3rd out of the 5 teams listed here, behind Chelsea and Arsenal.
Now, there's got to be more teams listed because everyone has a positive goal differential, which is just not possible. Because that means everybody outscored everybody else. So there's got to be other teams there.
Although, if everybody's winning every match, that makes for some exciting watch sports watching.
I mean, isn't that kind of like no, tie's worse than losing, so it's not a tie.
Oh, a tie's not worse than losing. A bow tie might be worse than losing, though. So they've had some transfers, some loans, some ins, some outs of their people here, their players, to various different teams from various different teams. It's all well documented. Squad information, championship league. It seems like a pretty solid football club.
And you know what? It's solid enough that I think the Italian Army has no chance. And I think that's why the 2021-22 Manchester City Women's Football Club season moves on.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Yep. I'm going to have to agree with you, if for no other reason than, hey, we've said it before. Rob, you want to say it with me again? 1, 2, 3.
Nazis are bad.
Absolutely. And so the 2021-22 Manchester City Women's Football Club season. You are a big-time winner in our book, and that's why you're moving on to the next round.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Woo.
That brings us to the end of this episode, end of round 9. And if you like to hear about moths, why Nazis are bad, and random rugby players, we're here twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
There's a good chance that one of our competitors will teach you something. There's a good chance that one of our competitors will make you forget something that you knew before. And there's a good chance that we'll be back next week for another round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.